Hi, I'm Liz and welcome to my first video. I've been wanting to get into bullet journaling for quite some time, but in the past I always felt like it was adding to the stress I was already under rather than subtracting from it. So I never really spent too much time trying it, but I recently made some changes in my life. I quit my job as an English teacher to spend some time traveling and also focusing more on my health, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to actually try and get into bullet journaling. So right off the bat, I do think that I was way too enthusiastic about how I approached this. I made my own little notebooks using 200 GSM mixed media paper, and yeah, it probably is not going to continue that way. I'm pretty sure moving forward, I'm going to just buy a proper notebook and transfer all of these pages into that notebook at some point in the future. But that being said, I did have a great time doing this, and even though it took forever, I think it turned out relatively good in the end. I mean, it's not the neatest because the pages started falling apart, and I did make quite a few mistakes towards the end that I will talk about in more details as that comes on. But yeah, I quite liked it. Okay, so as I'm painting this picture, I am going to be cutting through and skipping some parts of it, but I wanted to talk about some of the materials. So I used Douwe Egberts watercolor pencils to do the watercoloring. I absolutely love those pencils. They're so versatile, and for someone like me who is constantly on the road right now, I don't have a permanent base of operations and I can't take a lot of supplies with me, so those pencils are fantastic. I'm also using Marie brand gouache. It's a Chinese brand. Most of my art supplies are from China, as I just moved back home to South Africa after about 9 years living in China. So I don't actually have any links for any of the things that I'm using, but I'll see if I can find some for future videos. So this is Silverleaf, and I'm using a Deli glue pen, but the one that I was using at first was a ballpoint nib, and it kept getting clogged up as the glue reactivated the gouache. So I switched over to the bigger marker type glue pen, and it works so much better. These pens do work fantastic with silver and gold leaf. I was very impressed, and it turned out looking really well, I think. Silver leaf or gold leaf is extremely messy though. I was not expecting that. It's my first time using this, and while I do think it looks beautiful, I also believe I need to figure out a better way of doing it, because that was an incredible mess. But making a mess is fun sometimes, so I don't hate it too much. Okay, here I started putting down the silver leaf in the background to try and make some star effects, and it's way overpowering. I don't like it at all. So I'm in a minute going to go in with a brush pen filled with India ink to cover up the silver leaf, and it doesn't cover it up completely. You can still see the metallic effect through the ink, so I think it looks quite nice in the end. But yeah, this just looked a bit too much for me. Yeah, so here I go in with the pen, and I'm just painting some ink over the top of those silver splotches that were supposed to be stars. I did still want some star type effects in the background though, so I believe I'm going to be using some white gouache and just do some splatters to make a more traditional way of, or to use a more traditional way of making stars. And there is my 2020 cover page. I really like it. I think I'm going to be going with the space theme for now. My December spread is similarly themed, but I'll talk about that more when I start with it. And I do really like how it turned out in the end. I think the silver in the background with the ink over it still has a nice metallic sheen, but it's not too overpowering. I'm covering it with some hairspray just to make sure that the paint doesn't get re-wetted from behind while I'm working, because I'm going to be doing more watercolor on the inside, which I also regret. It looks lovely, I think, but it was so much effort. It took forever. I think traditionally people would probably use washi tape, and if I did have nice washi tapes, I would probably prefer doing that myself. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for some nice washi tapes. I had a bunch and I couldn't fit them all into my suitcase when I left China, so I ended up gifting them to a friend. And while I'm sure she enjoys having them, I regret giving them. But anyway, I do skip through because I think watching people make lines is a little bit boring, and I don't want to waste anyone's time because everyone knows what it looks like to draw a line. Although apparently I didn't cut out enough of it because it's still quite a lot in there. Yeah, I think I cut from here. Yes, there we go. So this is my headache and period tracker. I'm using some silver pen to just outline over the black India ink because I just wanted to break it up and give it some sparkle. I get quite serious headaches, and I wanted to have a place where I can keep track of how frequently I get headaches and how frequently I get headaches that are not associated with my period, because I also do get headaches during my period. Yes, I think it's beautiful at the end, but I do not believe I will be doing anything like this again because there are too many pages of this border. It's kind of a nebula effect that I was going for, and I do like it. But I'm repeating myself now. It took me probably 7 hours to complete this entire spread, like the 2020 and December spread together. And even though I am currently unemployed, does not mean I have 7 hours to be spending on painting borders like this. So I will have to figure out a better way to do it starting in January. I believe this next part that I'm going to be doing is my travel plan. I mentioned before that I'm going to be spending the next couple of months traveling around. I am working towards finding freelance work that I can do online so that I can be location independent and work while I'm traveling. And right now, I'm planning on starting in Thailand in February. So I want to have a space where I can write out my full travel plan, where I'm going to be, when I want to be there, and also what I want to do while I'm there. And so that's what the bucket list is for. I know that I'll be spending about a month in Bangkok, and I've been to Bangkok before. I absolutely love Bangkok, but I've only spent maybe a week there in the past. So I'm really looking forward to spending a whole month there because there's so many things that I really want to do and see while I'm there. And that's what I'm going to be writing down on my bucket list page. And here we're back to painting borders. Yay, so exciting. I do also plan to do a weekly vlog style channel, maybe on my personal page instead of my Darling Eliza page. I will send out notifications in case anyone's interested once I'm ready to start doing that. And that's going to be more about like how I'm traveling and how I'm finding work as a freelancer, things like that, more day to day. Whereas the Darling Eliza is focused entirely on my art. So I'm starting with a bullet journaling, but I'm also going to be doing paint-alongs, and also a lot of my art takes the form of surface pattern design and doodling, Zentangle, mandalas, things like that. So I'll be posting videos about that on the Darling Eliza page moving forward. But yeah, for now, this is my first video that I've recorded, and hopefully to begin with, I'll be able to do about one a week. I'm going to strive to do more, but I don't want to overtax myself just now. I want to try and spend as much time with my family as I can, since I am planning on leaving again soon. I have limited time at home. And also I'm struggling a little bit with my health at the moment, so I don't want to push myself too hard. I was recently diagnosed with pretty severe anemia, and so I'm taking care to try and fix that before I hit the road. Okay, so this spread right here is about finance. After all the years living in China, I did save a fair bit of money, but sending money out of China is very difficult, and I wasn't able to actually do that in the end. So I created this spread to keep track of how much money I have left in my Chinese account as I start withdrawing money from the ATM here and transferring it manually into my South African account. I really hope that I can empty out most of the account before the bank in China gets angry about it. Because if they decide to freeze my account, I'm going to have to get a tourist visa, go back to China, and just to go to the bank, and that's going to not be a lot of fun. So hopefully that works out for the best. You can also see that I've changed up a little bit the order in which I do things. I at first was writing down the things first and then painting the borders, but doing the watercolor over the ink made the ink a little bit milky. And also, India ink is supposed to be waterproof or fast, but I found that for some reason my ink was running a little bit. Maybe I wasn't giving it enough time to dry. 2 more ambitions that I have for the year of 2020. I was an English teacher for 10 years, and even though I don't want to necessarily work as a full-time English teacher again anytime soon, I do want to try and create my own English course focusing maybe primarily on grammar and things like that, because that's one of my strengths, I think, as a teacher. And then the other page on that side is for an art course that I also want to try and work on later in the year. I will post updates as soon as I actually start with that. Okay, and so here we're starting with my December spread. Once again, I'm using Marie brand gouache paints, and if you could have seen briefly on that swatch page, it does get a bit grainy in the more transparent colors, so it's definitely not a professional quality paint, but it is nice and it is affordable, and it's what I have, so I'm going to keep using it. I am taping around the edges here, but I'm doing it in such a way that allows me to paint all the way to the edges of the page. I don't want a border around this page. So what I do is I start by taping a border around the inside of the page, and then I go back to the front and I tape over the tape that I put down. The theme for December is exploration, because I'm going to be exploring a new lifestyle and method of living. And as I am a bit of a sci-fi geek, I am doing it space themed, because that just makes me really happy, and happiness is important. I am skipping through the painting process, but I think I will probably put the whole painting of this up on my Patreon. I'll be sure to give links to that once it's done. There's a lot of dead space to be filled sound-wise. I mean, you're basically just watching me paint. But I thought I would mention that the spacesuit that my character there, the me character in this picture is wearing, is not conventional colors. And obviously painting a white suit would be boring, so that's part of it. But the other part is that I am going to be changing my hair to those colors pretty soon, actually tomorrow as I'm sitting recording this. And it's something that I've always wanted to do, having bright hair colors. And now that I'm not formally employed in a full-time corporate sort of setting, I have the freedom to actually do that. So I use the same colors that I'm going to be using in my hair to represent the suit there, so that I feel kind of like it's me, you know? It's the me I want to be, and it's the exploration I want to be doing. Okay, so here I'm going to be embossing December onto the page, and I thought that was a great idea. And it is really, but the embossing ink that I'm using there ended up being really thick, and that stuff, I guess you usually use a stamp to put it on, so it's never very fluidy and liquidy. And so while the embossing part of it worked out really well, that took a bit longer to dry, and so the embossing powder over the top was already set while that was still wet, and it did cause a lot of leak through to the back of the page. It also caused some of the letters to move around a little bit, and I had to go back and try to glue them back down, but I don't show that. And it did turn out really cool looking in the end, I think, because the December just kind of looks like star formations in a way. Okay, so the inside of my monthly spread, again, inexperience caused me to make several boo-boos that I would not be repeating in the future. So first off, I now understand why people put all of their trackers and all of their pages before they start with their weekly spreads, which that was silly of me not to do it that way. The other thing is, I was inspired by one of the bullet journaling YouTubers that I really like. I'll leave a link to the video below, in doing these window type Dutch door that go horizontal instead of vertical. And I really love what she did with it in her video, and so I wanted to try and do it myself. But yeah, I ended up messing up a bit because, well, first off, this is a handmade notebook, and so as I'm cutting pages out, the string keeps going looser and looser, and so the pages keep getting looser and looser, and it just looks really untidy in the end. And also, for some reason, I completely forgot about the last week of December, and so I'm going to skip through most of it, I believe, and just go forward and show you how I ended up inserting the page that I missed. These little borders, well, they are faster with the markers than they were with the watercolor pencils. still took a ridiculous amount of time. And yeah, I don't know. I think I also understand why people don't do their entire month of weekly spreads at once now, because you want it to look pretty, but you don't want to spend your entire life decorating a notebook. So that's something I have to rethink moving forward again as well. I think what I'm going to try in my January will be copying the Plant-Based Bride's rolling weeklies, where she just does like the bullet and like, yeah, I don't know. I'll see if I can find a video link for that as well. It looks much more efficient than what I've done here, and I think I'll try that next month. I did do a small painting at the end of each week, and I think they turned out really cute, but I didn't actually show all of the paintings being done in the video because I really wanted the video to be under 30 minutes, because I know anytime I watch a video that's more than 30 minutes, I end up watching it on 2 times speed anyway, because I get really bored and I just don't want to do that to other people. But I'm continuing the space exploration theme. I also found that with this washi tape, and this pink one is the only one I own right now, washi tape kind of sucks because it comes loose so quickly. The glue on it is really bad. And so I found that if I just rub over it with my bone folder, it kind of embosses it into the paper and then it sticks really well. So that's a handy tip for anyone who's ever struggled to keep their washi tape from lifting off by itself, because it is quite annoying when it does that. That top tab there that has the date on it, I'm going to end up having to cut that off because, as you can see, I forgot about a week. And so now there's not enough space for the extra tab to go in. So I cut them all off and I redo them as separate tabs. Here I'm using double-sided tape to add a page that way, and it works pretty well. Like, it doesn't look too bad. At this point the notebook looks horrible anyway because everything started falling apart and I had to use masking tape and different things to try and keep my pages stuck together. But I think all in all, I still like how it turned out in the end. I think it was a worthwhile endeavor, even though I probably won't do it this way again. I'm not going to show every part of me coloring the border because that's boring, but here I start to actually cut off the tabs. Yeah, it would have been nice to have the tabs on that were like actually stuck, because now, even though double-sided tape does work relatively well, they can come loose again. But hopefully it'll work out. I'm fairly confident that it's reasonably solid, so we'll see how it turns out in the end. Then I have 2 more paintings left to do, so I'm just going to run through the one, and then I'm going to go on and make the new tabs. All of these little paintings I'm planning on making available as stickers in my Redbubble shop, so I'll post links about that as soon as it's done as well. I'll probably give notifications on my Facebook group and also on my website. So here I'm starting to make some of the pieces that will become the new tabs, and I'm just briefly showing how I'm doing it. I'm not showing every single one because it's repeating the same thing over and over again. Sorry. This tracker is going to be for medication, and I really wish that I had put it in the front of the book, closer to where I had my year trackers as well. I will, of course, be using it because the whole point is to be able to keep track of the medication I'm taking. I'm not used to taking medication, and so having somewhere where I write down when I've taken it is going to motivate me to remember to actually take it. But yeah, I definitely would rather put it in the front of the book than behind all of the weekly spreads. It's kind of hidden, and I feel the same way about the next couple of pages as well. Like, this is my reading tracker. I haven't been reading as much as I would like this past couple of years, just because my job kept me so busy, and when I had free time, I really just wanted to paint and create beautiful things. But moving forward into 2020, I do have a reading list that I would like to try and get through. I'm using a white pen to try and clean up some of the smudges from the Posca pens. Okay, then this one is going to be about my freelancing. So I mentioned that I want to try and do some freelancing work. So I'm creating a spread here where I can keep track of what company I'm working for, how much time I'm spending working for them, and how much money I'm making at that particular company. Like I said, I am going to be posting about the freelancing stuff over on my other channel, and I will share a link for that as soon as it's ready. I've not started recording any of those videos yet because I'm still researching how exactly I'm going to be doing that. This is a tracker for my blog and my YouTube videos. And then the final ones here is a gratitude and an annoyance tracker. I know a lot of people only do a gratitude one, but I feel that for myself, it's both important to keep track of things that makes me happy and what I'm grateful for, but it's also important to keep track of the things that make me upset, because I want to try and improve how easily I'm triggered and how patient I am as a person. Okay, and so here's a final flip through of my book. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you come back for more videos in the future. Have a good week. Goodbye.